Welcome to the Whitworth Onlin podcast.
So first of all, I just want to congratulate you on being re-elected as MP.
Thank you very much.
One of the things that came up really was that Rossendale and Darwin is such a large area, and some of our readers was concerned that with Whitworth being a small town, how are you going to, represent us in Parliament? How are you going to put our concerns across at Westminster?
Well, that's a really good point for your readers to make, and I think I'll start by saying there's sort of two parts to my job. There's the part that I really love. I mean, I love all of it, and it's a great privilege. And the part I love the most is the part that I do here at home. I live in Helmshire, and a day, a Friday like today, and over the weekend, and during when Parliament isn't sitting during that period as well, I travel round this constituency. I hold up to 10 advice surgeries a month, hold a regular advice surgery here in Whitworth. And why I love doing that is because it makes me, in my work for you in Parliament, just a better member of Parliament. Some of the best ideas I've been able to speak about in Parliament, put to government, make sure that we get the right decisions, have come from conversations I've had here in Whitworth Library, and that part of Whitworth. So I hope that by being always out and about, talking to people, going to every town, every village, every hamlet, even, that people always feel that I'm accessible and I can represent them. I suppose the other part of the job, that big thing about being in Parliament and trying to change laws, every time I vote or I speak or I do anything in Parliament, there's a simple question I ask myself, and it's this: is what I am doing today or tomorrow or at my time here in Westminster making the lives of people here in Whitworth and across Rossendale better? And if the answer to that is yes, then I will try and do more of it. If the answer is no, I'll try and change what I'm doing.
So you say you hold regular advice surgeries. How often is that? And that's open to anybody, I suppose?
Absolutely, it's open to anyone with an appointment, and the reason I have an appointment system is because it enables me to make sure I have enough time to spend with people who sometimes have really serious issues that they want to talk to me about for longer than a quick 4 or 5 minute sort of period. So all the details about my advice surgery on my website, jakeberry.org, and also on my Facebook page. People can phone the office or email into the office or look on there and make an appointment for my advice surgery. I do 10 a month, but I tend to do 2 types of surgery. So I do a fit surgery, which will be in public buildings across Rossendale, Whitworth Library, Whitworth Library and Rotten Library. I do some in Darwin as well, understandably. But I also do things called a street surgery, which is where I go and knock on every single door in the street and ask people on that street what their concerns are.
So let's talk about schooling and education. A lot of people in Whitworth are concerned about the schools. Ofsted reports aren't that great. They feel like they don't have a lot of options when it comes to choices in schooling in the area, and they feel that the schools really aren't up to scratch. That's been voiced by several different residents. How are you going to address that? Because, it's obviously a massive concern for the residents here that the children are getting a good quality of education.
Well, as a father myself, I think about my little boy and what school he'll go to here in Rossendale. I am absolutely determined to make sure that every school here in the Rossendale Valley, including Whitworth, provides a first-class education for the young people who are going there. So a lot of our schools actually are very good. There are some which have got some way to go to improve, but I am impatient for that change, because what parents, I think, want to hear from me is that the school their children may be going to now is good now. Not that it's going to be good in 3, 4 or 5 years, and that's why I visited a school already today. That's why I'm constantly visiting schools, working with schools, finding out what we can do to support our first-class teachers to provide a really good quality of education for our young people.
Okay. Now, you voted to increase tuition fees for universities. Why did you do that?
I think if you, like me, share an ambition for as many of our young people as possible to go to university, over 50% now, which is fantastic, then you have to have a mature conversation about who in fact is going to pay for that. I didn't introduce tuition fees, they were actually introduced by Tony Blair and the Labour government, so we voted to increase them. We looked at all sorts of different proposals about what is the right way of doing this, from the graduate tax, which was the proposal for the Labour Party, to loans. And why I ultimately supported loans was because you don't have to come up with any money up front, which I think ensures that people from less well-off backgrounds still have a fantastic opportunity to go to university. But also, and I think this is crucial, that you will never pay back those loans until you're one of the top 50% of earners in our country. It's a kind of one-way bet, if you like. We are so certain that by investing in yourself and going to university, you will be in the highest 50% of earners in our country. If you never get there, and I hope and believe or everyone will, but everyone who goes to university will, if you never get there, then you never have to pay anything back. So I think for young people thinking about going to university, that is actually a better deal than, say, a proposal around a graduate tax, which will be paid by everyone. And the final thing I'd say about it is we have lots of people working in this valley who have relatively low wages compared to the national average. So I want that to change. But one way I don't want that to change is I don't want to have to go and say to all those people working on 0 hours contracts and factories working for the living wage that they have to pay more tax to pay for other people's children, or in fact other people, to go to university and earn more money than them. If you go to university, you get the benefit of that education, you're the person who's going to earn the bigger salary at the end of it, and it seems right to me that through tuition fees funded by a loan, you make a contribution to that.
Let's move on to healthcare. Another big issue in this area is, and I'm sure across the board in the entire UK, in fact, there's a problem with getting GP appointments. You know, people are suffering because of this. People who are in work especially are finding it very, very difficult to get medical care and treatment that they need, as well as the medication. How do you plan to address that?
So there's a big challenge for people in work to access healthcare, especially when appointments take place during the day and often aren't available at the weekend. That's why I absolutely support our plan to ensure that we get a true 7-day-a-week NHS. So if you're working, you should be able to get an appointment on a Saturday. If you're working till late, you should be able to get an appointment after work, or in fact maybe even before you go to work in the morning. It's only because we are investing a record amount of money in our NHS, in fact the most money ever that has been put into our health service, that we can deliver on that 7-day-a-week promise for those people who are working and struggling to access healthcare.
So I'm sure you agree that our doctors are very, very important. The whole emergency services, doctors and nurses, as well as the fire service. Now, you supported yesterday the cap on pay for public service workers. Can you tell me a bit about why you did that?
Well, actually, I don't want people to get the wrong impression about this vote in Parliament. The vote in Parliament, including the Labour Party's amendment, is about whether we have a Queen's speech. And in fact, if the Labour Party's amendment had succeeded, the entire Queen's speech would have fallen and we would have had another general election. And I don't want to sound like Barbara, I think, from Bristol, who said, oh no, not another one. But I don't think people who I represent here in this valley would want another general election. But dealing with the issue of public sector pay cap, we initially had a public sector pay freeze, followed by a 1% increase a year for everyone working in the public sector, although not always affecting those on the very lowest wages in the public sector. That policy, that one policy, has saved over 200,000 jobs in our public sector. As the recession bit on our public services, we were able, rather than as happened before, and just get rid of loads of people in the public sector who, frankly, we all rely on to be there to support us. By introducing that pay freeze followed by the 1% pay cap, we were able to save 200,000 jobs of those public servants who we all rely on. I think going forward, we now need a big conversation about where we go next with public sector pay. I just reiterate the fact that voting down the Queen's speech having to have an another general election isn't the right forum in which we should have that conversation.
So in the future, would you still be supporting a cap on the pay of public sector workers?
I think it's very hard to say. I mean, I think people will have to wait till the autumn when the budget takes place to say what in fact the government is going to do about public sector pay. But I would accept that those in the public sector have really, like lots of other people, have really borne the brunt of the biggest global recession that we have ever known in this country. I think they've taken huge steps to support our economy and help us bring down public spending. And my own personal view is that the time is probably right now to talk in government about how we can acknowledge that huge contribution we've made.
Let's talk about our mental health services at the minute. I'm really strained. As an MP, what do you plan to do about the mental health in general?
Okay, well, if I can answer that. I think the point you make so well is why the NHS will always be my top priority. Because so many of us, whether we live in Whitworth, we live in Rochdale, or wherever we live in the country, we really rely on that service being there for us when we need it and free at the point of use. The NHS, like many other public services, is under a lot of pressure at the moment. And I think that's nowhere more stark than the pressure on mental health services. And that's why I'm really pleased that in our general election manifesto we committed to provide 10,000 more mental health nurses to support people through mental health. We've also, in the last Parliament, worked to give mental health services parity of esteem, as the technical term we use in legislation, with all other health services that the NHS provides. And I think that probably reflects the real experience that you and I have talked about and understand of mental health services sometimes being referred to and feeling like the Cinderella service of the NHS. But the truth is, without first-class mental health provision, you end up putting pressure on all other areas of public services. As with the police last week coming around the Rosendale Valley, and they were saying one of the big things they have to deal with is mental health services. We see in our school system we have to deal with young people with mental health issues. So we've absolutely got to get that right. So not only do we need 10,000 more nurses, which I'm pleased we're going to deliver, we need to continue to put extra money every single year of this Parliament. We're now spending a record amount, more than we've ever spent before in our NHS. But we've also got to focus on outcomes. Because if you have a child, or if you self are suffering from mental illness, and the best we can offer you is a bed in Blackpool, or maybe a bed in Birmingham, because no local provision is available to you, that is a case where our NHS is really, really badly let down. So it's not just a numbers game. It's not just spend more, have 10,000 more nurses. It's also making sure that our healthcare professionals are focused on really great outcomes for people suffering with mental health issues. When people talk to me about the NHS, I find that the majority of conversations I have are really, really positive about the treatment and the care that they have received. But when I go visit NHS hospitals, the main concerns they have is a lot about the negative reporting of the NHS and the brilliant people working there in not just our national papers, but sometimes our local papers too. So the main thing we can do, I think, to support the morale of people who work in the NHS is just be really, really positive about the amazing jobs they're doing for us here locally in Whitworth and Rochdale and across East Lancashire. Now, we can't just have warm words, we've also got to back that up. I, as your local MP, have to be going out there fighting to ensure that that record spending on the NHS comes to our area. It is all our money, it is all taxpayers' money. And here in East Lancashire, I'm working not just with colleagues in my own party, but with colleagues in different political parties to ensure that we here in East Lancashire get our fair share of that record pot of money that's being spent on the services.
Whilst we're talking about emergency services, let's talk briefly about policing. Now, a number of residents have told me they have concerns about policing in the area. They feel that it's inadequate, there's not enough PCSOs, there's not enough police presence out there. A lot of people feel scared, they feel that policing isn't adequate, as our MP, what can you do about that?
So, particularly around antisocial behaviour, which I think we still have a real issue here with locally, I know that, especially for the elderly and the vulnerable, but in fact for all of us, having that sort of antisocial behaviour on the street is terrifying. And sometimes people find themselves living next door to what they call neighbours from hell. And I think that often the council and the police are far too slow to react to that. And I think that's unacceptable. It's one of the many things that have challenged our police force and our local council to say we've got to get better. And not at the major crimes, which I think we're very good at, but actually those small day-to-day things that make a real difference to people's lives. About the level of policing, I think that it's the council who fund the PCSOs, and to give the council their due, they've given priority to that, so we have maintained PCSOs here in Lancashire. We haven't seen that over the whole country, but I think they have a huge part to play. Again, I really support ensuring that they keep going. The other thing I have concern about, of course, is the Lancashire Labour Peace and Crimes Commissioner's decision to shut the front counter in Waterford Police Station, meaning that in the whole of the Rossendale Valley we have no access to counter service for police force. It brings me back to my point that actually policing is about public engagement. It's not just about the big crimes like murder, financial crime, cyber crime that we often read about in the papers. But finally, and I hope this is some reassurance to the people who are concerned about this, we have the great privilege of living in one of the areas in the country where it is one of the safest places to be. And I think the way that crime has gone down consistently over the last few years is a real tribute to our local police officers and in fact our community. We're constantly vigilant and supporting the police force.
Okay. Very, very quickly, just to cover on the issue of fracking, Whitworth is sat on a load of shale resources, and I have a concern, and there's other residents who have a concern in the area that companies are going to come here, are going to set up rigs and fracking rigs and are going to frack in the area. I read briefly that you had concerns about fracking and you wasn't supporting it. Is that still your stance?
So no, I've been quite clear that fracking, while it represents a big opportunity for us, I just think about how probably many of us got here to Whitworth Library today. We probably put petrol in our car, we probably have a shower, we use the gas central heating. We have a huge reliance on fossil fuels, particularly gas and oil. And in fact, here in Lancashire we have a huge opportunity as we are sat on billions of pounds of a vital natural resource. That said, my concern is that I don't believe that it's yet been proven that fracking is safe. Not just safe in terms of protecting land and property, which is hugely important. Lots of people around here will be on a private water course. I have concerns about the environmental impact. So while I may be prepared to support fracking if and only if it is proven to be safe, I certainly wouldn't be prepared to support it at this current moment here in Lancashire.